To me, a good MCCA project is one that truly focuses on the community, where the institution reaches out to the community, includes the community, figures out ways that the institution can have an impact on the community, not the community impacting the museum. It needs to truly be a partnership, a collaboration, which is part of the name of the grant process. It also needs to have heart. I think more than once today in our discussions, the issue has come up. Well, it may not address thus and such, but we could really feel the heart of the program. And I think it's one in which, as the project, if it gets funded, gets described later, and this also happened today in talking about past successful projects, it really did bring tears to our eyes hearing about the impact that these projects are having on people's lives who probably would not have gotten opportunities had they not been a part of the MCCA funding. Well, we did see consistent weaknesses in terms of just certain important elements of the proposal not being fleshed out enough. What was the outcome going to be? What was the product, for lack of a better word? How were these outcomes going to be disseminated? Some did a very good example of putting down the outcome and the measuring criteria and how they hoped to measure the success of the project, and others had very sort of nebulous outcomes. So I think the more specific that you can be in how you're going to measure the outcome and what is going to be the product, if you will, of the grant that you are proposing, those are really important things in areas in which we saw inconsistencies. Now, another area that came up at least a couple of times that was a problem, that might not be one you would think of first blush, would be some cultural insensitivities, where the U.S. Museum, taking the lead on a proposal, wrote something, and probably inadvertently in such a way that it sounded patronizing to the international partner. And those are just that it did come up a couple of times, and those are things that I think you really need to think about when you're describing another culture that you're not a part of, and not to make it seem like you are going to go in and save that culture. That's not a partnership. So I think that that's another area to be very sensitive about, to avoid when you're writing these proposals. I think future applicants should remember a number of things, two of which foremost in my mind are: listen to the AAM staff. They are there to help you. That's one of the most collaborative pieces of this collaborative grant program, because they will give you feedback. And we saw an instance today where a group were asked to address a certain aspect of their first draft in their proposal, and they did not. And it was a glaring omission, and that particular applicant is not going to get funded. So listen to the AAM staff. They really, really are there to provide feedback as you go through the grant process. Also, don't give up. If at first you don't succeed, listen to the AAM staff and try again, because they will provide feedback if you're not funded, or you're not funded at the level at which you requested. You're going to know why. You're going to have a dialogue with them about why you either didn't get funded or didn't get funded as much as you had asked for. So listen to that, and don't be afraid to apply the next grant cycle, because those are very valuable tools to help you as you develop your next grant application. I would say other things to avoid: not being specific enough as to how you're going to recruit your fellow participants from the international side of your grant, not being specific enough about how you're going to recruit your own participants from your institution. You need to spell out everything, because the reviewers see one thing in front of them, and that is your grant proposal. So think of the questions that you would ask if you were a reviewer reviewing your own grant. It's always a good thing to do, I think, once you've written it, is to step back from it if you've ever been a grant reviewer and say, okay, what would I say about this application if I were having to review it?